Hi everybody, I'm Salma, and today I'm going to share my experience doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations for 1 year. So I'm going to break it down to what happened each month and then talk about my insights, my revelations, how I've changed, how other people have changed, and what I have manifested in a year. So if this sounds good to you, stay tuned and make sure to subscribe. We're going to start off in June 2021. I went to a week-long advanced retreat in Cancun with one of my friends. Prior to going, we had to make something called a mind movie, which is a manifestation board in movie form. So in my mind movie, I was looking good, I had a fit body, I was happy, I was healthy, I had a successful YouTube channel, I was traveling a lot, I was extremely abundant, my family was happy, and I wasn't working besides just doing something that I am passionate about and enjoy doing. That covers the mind movie. So during the week-long advanced retreat, which I actually filmed my experience there, I'll put the link to the video in the description below if you want to watch that in detail. But while I was there, I saw glimpses of my future. This surprised me. It just happened to happen during one of the meditations. I physically felt what it was like to be my future self, which I call my future self TheSalmaLLama, and that's why this channel is named TheSalmaLLama. In this glimpse of my future that I saw during a meditation, I saw my YouTube channel in the future. I don't know how far in the future this was, but I got a glimpse of my thumbnail, I saw how many subscribers that I had, and I saw how many views that I had in a video, and I was honestly shocked. I also saw how abundant I was, and I saw that I was fit and super happy. I also had a moment during this meditation where I physically felt what it was like to be my future self in my current body. And I felt very strong, very empowered. And I also, in my heart, had such an extreme sense of love and joy, but it felt like my heart was laughing, like giggling all the time. Almost like when you see those spiritual gurus that are well known and they're always kind of just like laughing and chuckling and talking in riddles. That's what my heart felt like. And it was such a foreign feeling to me. I couldn't really understand it. I just knew that it felt good. Another thing that happened at the retreat in June that's very important to mention is that my real dad died when I was 1.5. And I thought this was something that I had healed already, but I literally pumped out the energy during the breath and during a meditation of my dad's death that was still within my body. So I had this ball of energy just come up and out and through my head, and it was then gone. I no longer had that energy just sitting inside of me. After my friend and I left the retreat, we continued to travel through Mexico and then went to Colombia. So we were gone for almost a month, and we were doing Blessing of the Energy Centers 8 every single day. It's an hour and 34 minutes. It's an advanced meditation, so you can only buy it on his website if you have been to an advanced retreat. Something else that happened was that during my time meditating after the Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat, I had released the energy of really wanting to be with my ex-boyfriend. So we had broken up for 1.5 years, and the relationship was not good at all prior to that. But we still both had this desire of wanting to be together. So I finally just let go completely and allowed that part to heal. I mean, I was trying to let go completely for 1.5 years. It just didn't happen until I was doing these meditations. Something literally shifted within me, and I felt this energy release in my heart. So when this energy released in my heart, he felt it as well. And then he kind of went spiraling downwards because he could feel that energetically I finally let go. So at that time, I just cut off communication with him completely. So now we're in July. I get home in the very beginning of July, and my sister is in the hospital. I'm still doing my meditations every day. My stepdad from Maui flies in so he can see her. My mom, my dad, me are all upset that my sister is not feeling well. It just felt like the energy was very chaotic at that time. But during that time, I did show my dad how to do Blessing of the Energy Centers. And a few months prior, he wasn't interested in Dr. Joe Dispenza. He didn't want to hear it. Not interested in my world, really. But this time around, he was more open, which was surprising. But the month of July just felt like very intense in many ways. Then August rolls around and my dad says, oh, come to Maui, come visit me. And I think in my head, okay, I'll go for 2 weeks. So I'm gonna mention this because it's important. So in 2020, a lot of stuff went down. That was when I broke up with my boyfriend, and then we were living together, and then I moved in with my dad, and then my dad ended up like saying I could move in and then kicked me out a week later, and then I had to get back with my boyfriend because I didn't have anywhere to live, and then I ended up living with my friend, and then I moved back to Las Vegas. Hawaii just stopped feeling like a welcome environment for me, and I got a very clear message that I needed to come back to Vegas. Throughout my life, my stepdad and I have always kind of butted heads. Like, we can't be around each other for too long because we just continuously butt heads. And I never felt like my parents ever really understood me in any way, or my spiritual side, or any of this stuff. I was just the lunatic. It's August, my dad says come to Maui. I'm like, okay, maybe for 2 weeks. I don't want to go there for too long and get in a fight or anything happen. So by August, I'm just doing my meditations 4 or more times a week, and I'm still only doing Blessing of the Energy Centers number 8 at this point. I get to Maui. It was great seeing my dad. He told me about some of his experiences doing the meditations and how he feels like he's really changed, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I'm definitely seeing it, but not enough time has gone by. Something else that happened while I was in Maui that month was that I felt my power come back to me. It was this energetic feeling of something that I had lost there at one point, and it just came back to me and I physically felt it. Also, I just realized I forgot to mention on this trip, because I was only supposed to stay for 2 weeks, I ended up staying longer because my dad and I were getting along so well. And he had changed, and he was into all of these things that I had been into and wanting to learn and know more. So suddenly we had this bond and this connection, and I was now respected for the things that I was into versus before. It just didn't make any sense to him. Then at the end of that month, I had found out that my ex-boyfriend had come back to Maui, and I decided to give us a chance to talk. So I met up with him, not expecting anything, and he ended up being such a different person, and I pretty much find out that by me letting go, it allowed him to have a spiritual awakening and just really wake up to all of the things that he had done and that weren't right in his life. So the experience was way different. It was like I was in front of a new person, and we had the most magical time. We continued to hang out, and I continued to feel like when we were together that I was in a dream. Like, it didn't feel real. It was more than I could have even imagined. Like, it was something that I couldn't even imagine. Then I remember on the day, September 13th, so that is the day that my real dad died. And in 2020, I had a significant experience on that day. So it's 2021, the day comes, I'm like, Dad, we're gonna have an amazing meditation today. So I'm doing my Blessing of the Energy Centers meditation, and once I get to my heart, I feel like it's this explosion that comes out of my heart. And I feel all of this joy, and I got that feeling that I had felt at the Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat of these giggles in my heart. And I felt like I was in love with life. I felt grateful, I felt joyful, I felt free. It was all of these feelings just happening all at once. I remember thinking, whoa. So I continued my meditation, and by the end, I felt really focused and more clear, and it felt like I had this bubble of energy with me, and I ended up being able to hold that feeling the whole entire day. So I realized that day that this is the target that I need to try to hit every single day in my meditations. And honestly, to get there, you have to be really focused, but really relaxed. It's like the fine balance of being relaxed but really focused in what you're doing. I continued to practice that whole week, and 50% of the time I would hit that emotion, and then I would be able to hold it the whole day. This was a very big moment in doing the meditations for me, because I didn't know that you could feel this way. I didn't know that you could hold this emotion for that long. I didn't know that I had the power to influence how I felt that much. And during the meditations, you call upon these emotions. You feel love in your heart, you feel gratitude, you feel joy. How are you going to feel in the future? Are you going to love your life? And suddenly I was able to call upon these emotions when I wanted to, which was insane because I was once ruled by my emotions, and now I was doing these meditations, controlling my emotions, hitting the target, and holding it all day. I always follow the signs and the synchronicities. So a week after that, I had met up with a friend and she was telling me that she gets these like mushroom microdose capsules, and her friend are taking them and they're really great. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she had given me the information. And then I go home, and that evening my dad is like, let's watch Fantastic Fungi. So in the same day, I had 2 signs of 2 people were kind of telling me the benefits of these mushrooms. And I tell my dad about the microdoses. And he's like, let's get some. So I ended up ordering them for us. So we ended up getting the microdoses a few days later, and I tried them. And I would take like maybe one every 3 or 4 days. And I noticed that they would also assist me in feeling this feeling of joy, gratitude, love, a love for life, these giggles in my heart. So anytime I would do my meditation and I for some reason couldn't hit the target, I would take a microdose and try to focus on that feeling and bring it into my body, and it would happen. So the microdosing was also helping me reach these levels that I didn't know was possible, and almost memorize the feelings more. In the month of September, I also was at the beach doing the meditation, and it was either at my 6th or 7th center, and I felt this brain fog, this cloud clear from my mind. So I've also made a video about that. I'll put a link down below if you want to watch it. It was this cloud that I had forgotten was there, and suddenly it was healed. And I remember knowing that it was healed during this meditation. And I felt so focused and so on point. September was my favorite month, to be honest. There was so much expansion that happened that month. Now it's October. I go home, back to Las Vegas. In October, I kind of lost the momentum that I had. I could still hit the emotions when I thought about them a lot and like pulled them into my body, but I wasn't just like waking up and doing my meditations immediately. I feel like when I would just wake up and do them the moment I wake up, it set the tone for the whole day. And it was like, okay, I've hit this emotion and I want to practice this whole day to hold this emotion. So I was kind of like all over the place in October. I would do my meditations at random times, and I feel like suddenly my focus wasn't as intense. And in October, I was now doing Blessing of the Energy Centers 5 or 8, switching it up, just doing whichever one I felt like doing. And I was still doing them about 4 more times a week. Then November rolls around and I'm back to that in love with life feeling. I'm hitting the target, I'm feeling focused, I'm feeling in love with life, the joy, the giggles in my heart, I'm feeling free, everything that I want to feel in the future as my future self, I was feeling in the present moment. And that was there until about mid-December, and then it kind of like died down a little. Then in January, I decided to try out some other Dr. Joe meditations. So going to the retreat, I knew that Blessing of the Energy Centers was his most important meditation. That's why I just stuck to that. In January, I was kind of like, let's explore some other Dr. Joe meditations. So I tried out a bunch of different ones and I liked them, but they just weren't as intense. I almost feel like it kind of like messed up the flow that I was having with Blessing of the Energy Centers, and if something was going so great, I should have just stuck with it and kept going until I mastered it. Not much happened in February, but I did have a coherence healing scheduled, and during that healing, I became super present and super aware. I also felt like the life that I wanted was about to begin. That was what I felt and the message that I got. Then March rolls around and I'm still doing my meditations, but all kinds of random Dr. Joe ones, whether it's Blessing of the Energy Centers, The Alchemist, Space Time, Time Space, whatever it is. And during the month of March, I was guided, so I'm very aware of the signs and the synchronicities, and pretty much I followed the signs and it led me to getting a new car, and this was just super unexpected. So it was just like a new car, an upgraded version of myself, and I've always noticed that my car has always correlated with my body and who I am. So I took this as the universe, God, creator, source, the divine, letting me know that my body has leveled up. I am becoming this new person, and this is now the car that matches me and my energy. Another thing that happened that month was that my mom started to be happier, started to socialize more and go out of the house more, because she was staying like inside way too much. And suddenly she started kind of living life more. She also had me take over her finances to kind of get things under control, which put us in a better position financially. And then in April, I got this sign, I followed the signs, and it ended up leading me to redecorating my room. And then in May, I ended up going to Sedona with my boyfriend, and I was connected to this HRV machine that finds your frequency and puts you into homeostasis, which I also made a video about that. And what came up was that my body was not relaxed and it was under stress, which was shocking to me because I had been doing the meditations and I was feeling good and I was feeling better, but my body was showing that it was still stressed. And what intuitively came to me was that I did not feel safe and secure in my body, but I didn't really know what that meant at the time. May was really stressful because I was doing my meditations and like starting to get insights and revelations about what this stress was in my body and what was going on. And I was told to go to this ceremony and go to Mount Shasta, the root chakra of Earth, because that was where I was gonna find my healing for this issue. And I made a whole video about that as well. It's the video right before this if you wanna watch that. In May, I got really sad. I felt like I had this cloud over me. I felt depressed. I was really confused as to what was going on. Then in June, I meditated in the beginning of the month, and then I stopped because I was preparing for this ceremony that I was going to, and we had these other meditations we had to do, and it was just a lot of preparation and it was overwhelming, and I had like a lot of emotion that needed to be seen and that needed to come out. So something that happens is that you can be doing really well and then you have these crashes because there is something within you that is now ready to be seen and ready to be healed. And that is what happened to me in May. Even though I was sad, I also knew that something is coming up. Something wants to be heard and is ready to be healed, because all we're doing in this journey is getting closer and closer to the love vibration. So as we go through life, we are healing things constantly that are not of love. But that doesn't mean it doesn't get intense and, you know, sometimes you can lose your mind about it, which I did. So that is my 1 year update. I am still currently doing the Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations. I just restarted my meditations about a week ago and I'm feeling really good about them. There are a few things I want to say and add on to this video. From the Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat till present day now, I have not worked. And remember, that was something that I wanted to manifest. I just wanted to make YouTube videos. And this has been something really interesting, to be honest. I had an abundance of money put in my account in March of 2021, and that's how I was able to go to Dr. Joe and travel for the month and do a lot. And then I ran out of that money, but somehow more money would come into my life when I needed it. So currently, I don't have extra money for anything, but all of my needs are taken care of. So I'm not where I want to be, where I have an abundance of money, but in a way I am abundant. And throughout the last year, my relationship with my mom has changed. I'm currently living with her in her home, and she is excited about me doing YouTube. She's happy for me. I'm welcomed here. I'm loved. I also have the new relationship with my stepdad, and he's okay with me being there and living there and being around him. And I'm welcomed with open arms, and he wants to see me all the time and buy me tickets to go to Hawaii all the time. And then with my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, who's now my current boyfriend, he also has a place, and he also would want me to live with him, and all my needs would also be met. So it's not like an overabundance where I'm like shopping nonstop and doing all this stuff, but my basic needs of having a beautiful place to stay, being surrounded by people that love me and are starting to understand me, food, all of that I have. So I feel that that is something that I manifested, because all these relationships were not that great at all prior. I've gone on over 7 trips this year, plus going to Dr. Joe, being in Mexico, and going to Colombia and traveling for a whole month. I've traveled more than I ever have in my whole entire life, and half of that has been free. Another thing is that I have never been able to stay consistent with anything, and I have consistently done these meditations for a year. I have also posted for almost a whole year once a week on YouTube. I took a break May, June, because I was going through a bunch of stuff and I just could not get it together. But that's a big deal for me personally. I have become way more intuitive. I receive messages all the time throughout the day, during my meditations. I can feel things. I realize sometimes trees can talk to me. I can feel their emotions. These meditations, this work, me following the signs and the synchronicities has really helped me to understand myself more on a deeper level. I've learned that you can choose how you feel, and that happiness is a choice and a practice. If you don't work on your emotions and cultivating positive, good emotions, whatever your default emotion is every day is just what you're gonna constantly feel. So I have realized that my default emotion is being depressed. So doing this work, I realized that this happiness exists that I didn't even know could exist is there. But it takes work, it takes practice. Like I said, there have been months where I feel that love for life, and there have been months where I feel like good or nothing crazy is happening. It's definitely like keeping myself on track and remembering to be very focused during my meditations and to put a lot of effort, as well as being very relaxed, into feeling the emotions and cultivating this stuff. I healed the cloud over my brain that made me super brain foggy and made me feel like I was sleeping while my eyes were open all the time. And now I truly believe that anything is possible. This whole year has been such a surprise for me in every single way. And I honestly, I never know what I'm gonna manifest next. I know what I want, but I never know what's coming next or where the universe, God, creator, source is gonna put me next or tell me to do next. I could have zero money today and have $1 million next month. I wouldn't put it past me at this point. I truly, after doing this work and seeing the possibilities that I never thought were possible become possible, I just literally believe in the impossible. So that has been my experience doing these meditations for a year. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are currently doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations, keep going. Even when it feels intense and it feels like your life is falling apart, it's only falling apart to rebuild itself to match your new vibration. So it doesn't always feel good, but it's gonna take you to the next level as long as you stay consistent and put the work in. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.